Welcome to our class. Our theme for our class is a deep stretch, flexibility. So I'll scooch back to my mat. And for our first pose, let's lie on our back. So come over to the side of your body and lying on your back in supine with our knees bent, just checking in to see how you are doing physically. So you might notice first your pelvis and your lower back. You might notice your shoulders. Now let's bring our arms to the side of the body with our hands down, palms down towards the ground. And checking in this way, our shoulders with our neck, with our feet. See if you can touch the heels of your feet. And if not, just a little touch with your fingertips and just scoot your heels a little bit closer to your bottom. Coming into a shoulder bridge for our first pose. For the shoulder bridge, if you need to see what I'm doing, then please turn and then you can look. But going into the pose, we always keep our head straight, centered, and we're looking up towards the sky. So coming into the shoulder bridge, I'm going to open up through the front of the body, drawing the pelvis up towards the sky and holding here. We'll add something to this pose. So I just want you to feel this first. Now coming out of the shoulder bridge, drawing your pelvis down. We're going to add a support to our shoulder bridge. So placing a block underneath of your lower body here. So you can just turn over and get a prop here. If you want to use a pillow, please do so also. So if you want to watch first also what I'm going to do with the block, I'm placing it underneath, not the small of my back, but onto my sacrum. It's not the highest height, it's going to be the middle height, and I'm placing it just onto my sacrum, letting my pelvis be supported. So finding where it's going to work for you, and then you can come into stillness. Remember, we're not looking around when we're coming into shoulder bridge here. Arms by the side of the body. And you can let your pelvis release into the block, release into your pillows. Having maybe 2 pillows underneath if you don't have a block. You can close your eyes and start to feel your body soften. Now this is a big opening into our pelvis right now. And you might start to hear a few noises into your intestines, so things, food processing, moving as we open up into our pelvis. Now let your shoulders release into the ground. Knees continue to be up towards the sky. We don't need to open up through our pelvis anymore, so knees continue to be up towards the sky. If we do open up through our knees, that might be a little bit too much for our lower back. Take notice of your breath. Now increasing our flexibility, inhaling, opening up through areas of tightness. Exhale, helping our body to soften and release into the pose. To help us to let go, the exhale breath. And just a little longer. Coming out of our supported bridge, we'll lift our pelvis up and just a little ways, and then remove your supports and let the pelvis sink down to the ground. Just place your block towards the side here. And then take one knee and then the other knee coming into the chest and give yourself a squeeze. Into cradle here and just let the lower back settle into the ground. A nice counter pose. Let your body soften with your exhale breath. Inhale, opening up. Exhale, our body releases. We are present. You can have your eyes closed to help you to release a little bit deeper. Help you to find calm. Now coming out of cradle, releasing your hands, and we take one foot and then the other foot coming down towards the ground. Crossing your right ankle over top of the left knee. Hold here for a moment. A big opening coming into the right side of our pelvis. You can wrap your hands around the left leg and then just pick that foot off the floor. Draw the knee in towards your chest. If you wanted a little bit more of an opening, gently press your hand into the inside of the right knee and press away. Again, close your eyes. being present with your breath, noticing any sensations running through your body, noticing how you feel. You can let the left leg dangle here. So the bottom of the leg, letting it dangle, but down towards the ground. Continue to breathe into areas that are tight and exhale to help let go. We hold a little longer. 3 cycles of breath. Inhale, exhale being 1 cycle. And now gently release. And pressing the ankle and into the other side. Crossing your left ankle over the right knee and hold here for a moment. Now coming into the pose a little bit deeper, wrap your hands around the right leg. So the foot comes up. Now you can hold on to the leg the whole time and then let the right foot dangle, or pressing on to the inside of the left knee and pressing away. Let yourself release into this stretch by closing your eyes, focusing on your breath, turning inward, being present. Do you notice if one side of the pelvis is tighter than the other? And now just a little longer, 3 cycles of breath again. And coming out. Figure four, just letting the foot gently come back towards the ground. Uncrossing the ankles. Take your feet wider than the hips. Arms by the side of the body, just a little bit higher, and windshield wiper, knees side to side. Nice little movement, mobility through our pelvis. Take the knees back towards the center. Coming into fetal, take the right arm overhead and roll over to the right side to fetal. Hold for a moment. And then coming up, we're moving into the next pose, which is deer pose, in preparation for hero. So for deer pose, take the left leg forward and then the right leg behind. Now you may be right here, adding a pelvic tilt and rotating over to the left side. You may hold like this, or walk your hands forward and coming around to the left side. And I just want to make sure I'm in the camera here so you can see me, and then opening up, coming behind, and you can lie down. Letting the head rest. So we have a bigger opening into our hip flexors and our quad here. So you can do that, of course, upright with that pelvic tilt, or join me by lying down. I want you to inhale into the hip flexors, into the front of your thigh. Then exhale, we let go, release. Now coming out of deer pose, if you are lying down, just coming up in the opposite way. So coming up and around, and then everybody coming out of the twist, and then to the other side. So now the right leg comes forward, left leg comes behind. Lifting up, pelvic tilt, so pushing the left hip forward. You can add that twist here and hold, or come forward and then walk your hands around and coming back. Now, if it's not comfortable for your knee, you don't need to come down. You can just stay up. And then hold here if you want to be just up. And add that tilt. And still let your eyes rest by closing them to be in a darker space, to let yourself find calm and breathe. Everyone, making your way out of deer pose. Again, if you were lying down, then just coming up the opposite way as you came down. And then you can make your way out of the twist, bringing both legs forward. Remove the fleshy part from your bottom. And then just give your legs a little shake out. One more time. Our next pose is hero. Okay, hero pose. A few different ways that you can come into hero. You can double up your blocks. So one block or a little bit of blocks. So you can see two blocks. So sitting on a higher, something higher too, that to take pressure off of the knees, that this works great. And so that you can hold onto the heels and then hold right here, or so with one block, it would look like this. So I'm sitting and I can actually come back that by lifting my pelvis up into the air and then drawing my bottom down. So my tailbone is not going down towards the ground, it's on an angle. And then I can draw my chest up towards the sky, or so it's also called a straddle here too. So for hero, that you're going into reclined hero, if you wanted to, you can come back into hero by sitting on your bolster, drawing back, lift your pelvis up, and then slowly come into a reclined. And then my head is not resting here, so I would have to use another prop also. So you can do that with your back being supported, or if you don't want to, you don't have to use a bolster or pillows. You can lie back on the ground without any props. So what would you like to do? Having some support's always really, really great. So you can join me to whatever way that you would like to do hero. And then let yourself feel that big opening into the front of your hip flexors and your quadriceps. Just like we did in deer pose, it was one at a time. This is both together. Opening up through our chest. You can bring your arms overhead too. Now coming out of reclined hero or hero itself, that you're upright, just making you back up. And our counter pose that we will do will be child's pose. So I'm just going to remove my props before I come into child's pose. You can do the same thing, just putting them to the side here. And now for child's pose, you may have your knees turned out to the sides or your knees forward to the top of your mat. And then sitting back into the heels. Let the forehead rest. So you can rest on your hands, mat. And now coming out of child's pose, come back to all fours. So come into all fours, I should say. And then coming down towards the ground to your forearms and lying on the front of your body. You're in prone and into Shavasana. So uncurl the toes, heels coming towards the sky. Let the right cheek rest, arms by the side of your body. And remain here just a little while. We're getting our stretch into the neck, letting your lower body, upper body soften into the ground. Now turning your head nice and slow, and we let our left cheek rest on the ground, and we hold here still, continuing to let the front of our body sink into the ground, noticing your neck, breathing into any tight areas, inhaling, exhale, let yourself release, releasing everything that does not serve you. It's a good time to take this opportunity to notice where you may hold tension. Are you able to let your hands release, fingers release? Coming out of Shavasana, we slowly turn our head And then bring one hand and then the other hand forward. Hold here for a moment. Taking your right knee up towards your shoulder. I'm sorry, my pants are a little too dark here with my mat. Now, lift up and take your left arm underneath. So that just the opposite. And we roll up and over to the other side. So with the right arm lift up and over. Now feel this nice big twist into our spine, the opening coming through our front of our chest, into our shoulder, the front of the shoulder. If it is too much, just take your right arm back. And also place a pillow or block underneath the right shoulder too to help. But notice your pelvis, notice your spine. You may turn your head the opposite way of the right knee. And we breathe. Making your way out of the twist, turn your head back towards the center. The right arm comes back over to our left side and making your way onto the front of your body. So you're prone again with the arms forward. Whew. That was a nice big twist. Okay, into the other side. Lift the left knee up. And now the right arm is making its way under. So lift, take your right arm under, threading the needle, and bring your left arm up and over towards the left. Okay, here we have this big rotation again into our spine. Notice the opening through your chest into your shoulder again. If you would like, you can place a prop underneath of the shoulder or tuck your arm in. You can also turn your head. So you're turned your head towards the other side, left side, and close your eyes and tell yourself to let yourself release, let yourself go into this deep stretch. We breathe. coming out of the twist. And we make our way back. So just ever so slowly, we can make our way back to the front of our body. You can bring your arms up, overhead here, and let the forehead rest onto the backs of your hands, the fronts of your hands actually, into crocodile. And coming out of crocodile, let's sit back into child's pose for a moment. So again, knees forward or knees turned out towards the sides of your mat. And coming back up and onto the side of your body here and making your way down. So we'll lie on our back. And now this is from the beginning of our class. And then we get to check in to see how we're doing. Okay, so at the beginning of our class, we had our knees bent. So you might feel a little bit more open through the front of the body. Let's work a little bit more into our lower back. So taking your right knee in towards the chest, and then the left knee into the chest, back into cradle here, and let the knees be drawn open to the sides. And do a little movement through the pelvis here first. And now take your legs up and open up the legs into a V. We open up the legs into V to open up through our groin, supporting the outside of your legs with your hands. Add a little bit of flexion, so flex your feet. Breathing. And bringing the legs back towards the center, bending through the knees, come back into cradle. Now into the spinal twist, we take the legs up and over to the left side, bringing the arms in line with the shoulders. Turn the head the opposite way. Taking your head back towards the center and bringing the legs back to the center. You can help them by using your hand. And then into the other side, we take the legs up and over to the right side and arms in line with the shoulders. And we turn our head the opposite way of our legs. Close your eyes. We're moving out of this pose by turning our head back again to the center. And now legs coming back. Just gonna use my hand to help my legs come back. And then here we are into cradle again. So taking your knees into the chest. Up a hug. And back into bridge, shoulder bridge with outer support. So not the supported bridge. So ankles, knees, hips in line with each other. Place your hands, palms down towards the ground, looking up towards the sky. Draw your pelvis up towards the sky with the inhale breath. Exhale breath, draw down. We have 2 more times to do it just like that. Inhale, drawing up. Exhale, drawing down. And one more time. Ankles, knees, and hips in line with each other, but now we're going to step out. So wider than the hips with our feet and windshield wiper knees side to side. So take your arms up and windshield wiper. It's back to the center. And now coming into our final pose. Before we come into our final pose, Shavasana, if you would like to place a blanket on yourself or whatever you find that you would like to for warmth, please go ahead and do so. Removing any of the props away from your body so you're not touching anything when you do so. Now you can have your right ankle to the right corner of your mat. You can have your left ankle to the left corner of your mat and opening up. Arms could be quite wide, so away from the body, making a nice big X. Let your shoulders soften. Now, if you notice your lower back, maybe still lift it a little bit higher than you would like and bend the knees. You could also sit in an upright position to come into meditation. We find our stillness. Close our eyes. Your body soften. Let your mind wander. We let the lips part to help the facial muscles soften. Your neck softens. Shoulders melt. We release. And I will call you back when it is time. Coming out of Shavasana. You may hear different sounds around you, different smells. You may notice the surface you're lying on, sitting on. You may notice the texture of the surface you are lying on. Let your body absorb everything that is good around you. And release everything that you do not need. And we can wiggle our fingers and our toes. Maybe a shift in the body. Now if you're lying on your back, bending the right knee, left knee, right arm coming overhead and rolling over to the right side to fetal. And now we make our way up into a comfortable seated position for ourselves. Placing our hands to our heart center. And close your eyes and let your body settle here. And opening up the eyes. Thank you very much for joining me, sharing your practice with me to do a deeper stretch throughout our body. Namaste.